I recommend picking your CPU and platform first because that one decision determines your motherboard, your RAM, and even your upgrade path later on. Right now in 2026, you've basically got two main choices for current generation hardware. On the AMD side, you've got the AM5 platform and the Ryzen 9000 series CPUs based on the latest Zen architecture. These chips offer up to 16 cores and 32 threads along with support for DDR5 and PCIe 5.0, which means they're built for everything from browsing the web and sending emails to high-end gaming and heavy productivity workloads. For gaming specifically, the X3D variants like the 9800 X3D class are still leading in a lot of titles because of their massive cache, which helps boost frame rates in CPU-heavy games. On the Intel side, while their 14th gen chips are still around, the newer generation is the Core Ultra series with solid offerings including the Ultra 5 250K+ and Ultra 7 270K+ variants. Even though AMD's pulled ahead in many areas like efficiency and gaming performance, Intel CPUs are still strong all-arounders, especially if you're doing a mix of gaming, streaming, and productivity. So the way to think about CPUs right now is actually pretty simple. If you want the best gaming performance and a long upgrade path, AMD Ryzen 9000, especially the X3D chips, is a really solid choice. But anything from the 9600X or 250K up to the 9850X3D and 270K are gonna be amazing. You really can't go wrong. If you want a strong all-around system with solid productivity performance, you can start to consider the upper tier chips like the Ryzen 9 9950X or Ultra 9 285K. Both of those chips are gonna do an awesome job with pretty much any task you throw at them for years to come. And while Intel is still very competitive, their next generation chips due out later this year or early next are expected to require a new socket. So that might limit your upgrade path in the future, whereas AMD is expected to continue supporting AM5 with their next generation. But regardless of what you choose, don't overspend here if your main goal is gaming, because your GPU still matters more. So let's talk GPUs. In 2026, we're basically dealing with three real options: the NVIDIA RTX 5000 series, AMD RX 9000 series, and Intel's Battlemage or ARC-B series. Starting with NVIDIA, the RTX 5000 series is the industry-leading GPU family, bringing improved ray tracing, AI performance, and newer versions of DLSS, an upscaling feature that can boost frame rates. These cards are the go-to if you want the highest level performance available, like the current flagship RTX 5090. No other card like it exists on the market from other manufacturers. The downside is that it's going to cost you over $2,000 to get one. On the AMD side, the RX 9000 series has become extremely competitive, especially in terms of the performance you get for the money. Cards like the RX 9070 and 9070 XT are sitting right in that sweet spot for high refresh rate 1440p and even entry-level 4K gaming, offering strong performance per dollar. If you're not going for high refresh rate 4K gaming, a 9070 XT is an amazing GPU. And then there's Intel with their Battlemage GPUs, the ARC-B series. These are becoming real options in the budget and lower mid-range space, offering solid performance for the price and helping push competition across the entire market. But because they're newer to the gaming GPU market, their drivers aren't always fully optimized, causing occasional issues in some games. Intel does provide regular updates though, so things should continue to get better over time. So here's how to choose. If you're playing at 1080p, you can look at cards like the RTX 5060 or something in the RX 9060 class. For 1440p, which is the sweet spot right now, you're looking at GPUs like the RTX 5060 Ti or 5070 or RX 9070 from AMD or similar tier cards. If you're going for the high end, targeting 4K at high refresh rates or maximum settings, that's where cards like the RTX 5080 and 5090 come in. You can get away with a 9070 XT for 4K, but don't expect high frame rates and maximum settings in every game. And if you're buying a GPU for video editing or rendering, having lots of VRAM helps. So that means looking at cards like the RTX 5090 or workstation cards like the Intel Arc Pro B70, both of which come equipped with 32 gigabytes of VRAM. Next up is the motherboard, and this is where people often overspend for no real reason. Your motherboard doesn't directly improve performance. What it does is give you features and compatibility. So what actually matters here is making sure it supports your CPU, has the features you need like Wi-Fi or enough USB ports, and gives you enough storage options like M.2 slots or even some SATA ports. AMD and Intel have different chipset tiers that offer different features and options. Most users, including gamers, will be just fine with a mid-range chipset like AMD's B850 or Intel's B860. You don't need a super high-end motherboard unless you have a very specific reason for it, like needing several NVMe drives or multiple graphics cards, or if you're planning to overclock your CPU. For most builds, something in the mid-range is perfectly fine. And any money saved on the motherboard can be put towards the CPU or GPU, the two main parts that have the biggest impact on performance. Now let's talk about RAM. RAM is your system's short-term memory. It holds the data your CPU's actively working with. For a new build in 2026, you're most likely going to be looking at DDR5 unless you're going with an older platform to fit your budget. There are still some good DDR4 options available, like the B550AM4 platform from AMD, but DDR5 is the fastest and most current memory type on the market. For gaming, 16 gigabytes is still the minimum, but realistically, 32 gigabytes is becoming the standard, especially if you multitask, stream, or keep a lot of things open in the background. If you're going to be video editing or rendering, 32 gigabytes is the minimum spec I'd recommend. 64 gigabytes is where you want to be if your budget allows. And speed also matters. For AMD systems, around 6000 megahertz is the sweet spot. It allows the RAM to run in sync with the memory controller on the CPU, resulting in lower latency and better performance. For Intel, you got a bit more flexibility, but somewhere in the 5600 to 6400 megahertz range is ideal. There's no need to blow your budget on super fast RAM. It's not going to make as much of a difference as your CPU and GPU, so save your money and put it towards the parts that matter. Storage is actually pretty straightforward now. You should be using an NVMe SSD as your main drive, no exceptions. These drives use the PCI Express interface, which is insanely fast compared to older standards like SATA. This is where you want to put your operating system and your main applications. It makes a huge difference in how fast your system feels. It's going to be more expensive than a SATA SSD or a hard drive, but trust me, it's worth it. A 1TB NVMe SSD is a good starting point, and if you need more space for games or files, you can always add a second drive later, even if it's a slower one. Traditional hard drives are basically only useful for bulk storage now. If you need 50 or 100 terabytes to store video files or other bulk data, a bunch of hard drives is by far the most cost-effective way to do that. Now let's talk about the power supply. This is one of the most overlooked parts of any build. This is the component that powers literally everything, and if it fails, it can take other parts with it. It's not where you want to cut corners. Look for something from a reputable brand with at least an 80+ gold rating. That means it's efficient and won't generate too much heat and wear itself out or need noisy fans to keep it cool. For most mid-range builds, something around 750 watts is usually fine. For higher end systems, you could need anywhere from 850 to 1600 watts. The best way to determine how much power you really need is to use a wattage calculator where you can enter your parts and it'll tell you how much power you need. If you don't want to do that, a quick and dirty way is to check GPU manufacturers' websites for power requirements. Most manufacturers provide a recommended PSU system wattage for their GPUs, and since the GPU is the most power-hungry part in most builds, it makes sense to base the system wattage around that part. And just keep in mind, it's always better to have a little extra headroom than to run too close to the limit. It's also important to make sure your PSU has the right connectors. While the motherboard and CPU power cables and SATA connectors are generally there on any PSU, pay attention to the GPU power options. If you buy a GPU that uses the 12V 2x6 connector, you need to make sure you pick a PSU compatible with the latest ATX 3.1 standard, otherwise you'll be stuck using an adapter, which isn't the best option. Cooling is what keeps your system running at its best. If your CPU gets too hot, not only can it reduce the lifespan of the chip, but it'll slow itself down to prevent or minimize damage, which means you're losing performance. Air coolers are still the best value, and they're more than enough for most builds. Liquid coolers, or AIOs, can give you better aesthetics and sometimes better temperatures, especially with higher end CPUs, but expect to pay quite a bit more for these types of coolers. The key is making sure your cooling performance matches the level of your hardware. With so many options available, a good way to start is just with a basic web search for a recommended cooler for your CPU and checking out reviews to see how things perform. I have reviews for several air and liquid coolers on the channel, and you can head over to my hardware playlist to check those out. Now for the case. Your case is more than just how your PC looks. It affects airflow, compatibility, and how easy your system's gonna be to build and upgrade. You wanna make sure your case has enough space for your GPU, your cooler, and any additional components you have. Manufacturers show the maximum supported hardware specifications on their websites. Sometimes you have to dig into the manual to find it though. And airflow is critical. Look for cases with mesh front panels and support for multiple fans. Good airflow keeps temperatures down, which keeps performance up and protects your hardware. A good way to start your search for a case is to look at your motherboard's form factor. If you're looking at an ATX motherboard, then you need to find ATX compatible cases. But if you go with a smaller board like micro ATX, then you can look at compact cases if you want to have a smaller overall build. Cases range from the size of gaming consoles all the way up to giant full towers that can fit multiple GPUs and custom liquid cooling loops. And there's just as much variation in price as there is with size. Now here's the most important concept in this entire video: balance. A PC is a system, not just a random collection of parts. If one component is significantly weaker than the others, it becomes a bottleneck that can hold everything back. For example, pairing a high-end GPU with a super weak CPU doesn't make any sense. If the CPU can't send information to the GPU fast enough, then the GPU can't produce frames as quickly as it should. What you want is a system where all the parts are at a similar level of performance, with some being beefed up a bit where it makes sense, like the GPU in a gaming build. That's how you get the best real-world results. To give you a rough idea, a solid mid-range gaming build right now might look like a Ryzen 5 9600X paired with an RTX 5060 Ti and 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM. A higher end build could use a Ryzen 7 9850X3D with an RX 9070 XT or RTX 5080 and 32 gigabytes of RAM. And if you want to get into the ultra high-end enthusiast or professional territory, that's where you can start looking at parts like the Ryzen 9 9950X or X3D, the Intel Core Ultra 9 285K, and pair it up with an RTX 5090 and probably at least 64 gigabytes of RAM. Alright, so if you follow this process, you're not just picking a bunch of random parts. You're building a system that actually works well together and delivers the performance you're expecting or hoping for. And best of all, you won't be wasting your money on expensive stuff you don't need. If this video helped you out, make sure to like and subscribe for more PC content, and we'll see you.